Hey guys, we are back for part 2 of our as many as cards as I can make from one paper pack, also tags and other things. And when we got together the last time, we were able to make 12 cards in about an hour and a half. I think it was an hour and a half. That was Friday. It's Monday now, so I'm picking back up. And I'm going to do something different this time I haven't done before. There's a fancy fold card that I fell in love with last year. And I'm going to go ahead and do some fancy folding. I normally try to keep these projects super easy, but I get so many cards from these projects that I'm going to take advantage and do some fancy folding. So let's do it. So to get my fancy folding started, I'm going to go ahead and cut my card bases and prep my card bases because I'm going to need to do some measuring to discover exactly what size of cardstock and stuff I'm looking for the rest of the project. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and cut these pieces down. These are just 8.5 by 11 pieces of cardstock, cut in half at 4 1/4. That'll give me 2 card bases per sheet. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and just cut like 10 card bases. Even if I cut too many, I can use them in multiple projects, not just this one, because these are my like go-to card base colors anyway. The colors of solid cardstock I'm using, by the way, is the Trio pack that Christopher makes for me. It's the 3 colors that are my favorite out of his line: the Raven, the Alabaster, and the Lunch Bag. And this is the Lunch Bag. I love this cardstock. It's like butter. All right, so I've got these guys ready. I am going to go ahead and assembly line score them before I start the fancy fold. So I'm just scoring them at 5 1/4. And then I will show you how we're going to get the fold started, or the cut started for the fancy fold. So to get started, I've pulled out 6 sheets of Lunch Bag cardstock from Brutus Monroe, and I'm going to cut these in half at 5 1/2 to give me 2 card bases. You see, I've changed my little card base up a bit. For this particular style of fancy fold, this is what I need. Now, I'm only going to cut 12 bases right now. I feel like I can get a lot more than that, but I may want to mix it up and try another card for my next set. So we got 12 before. I'm going to try to do 12 like this time. And this is going to be a little different than how I showed you how to do this fancy fold corner card in my video before. Because in that video, I used a pattern paper for this part. And in this one, I'm going to use a solid because I want to stretch my paper pack as far as I can. All that will make more sense as we get going. And by the way, I just cut each one of those pages one at a time. You don't have to do that. You can totally cut them 2 at a time. I just got going and didn't realize it. All right, so before I do anything else, I want to go ahead and score these guys so I can know where my card front is. So this card lays out a little different. You can see this is going to be a wide card. It's going to fold in the middle and be narrower but taller. So these I need to score at 4 1/4. So I'm just going to run through and score all these bases at 4 1/4. The cool thing is if you buy your bases pre-made, you can skip this whole set. And sometimes I do, but sometimes I just like to make my own bases. I don't know, it just depends on what I have. If I have bought some card bases and have some left in my stash, I'll sometimes use those up first. But in this color, I didn't have any in my stash. So I got my card bases scored and cut. I am not going to fold them just yet. I've got to do some fancy cutting, so I don't want to fold them. But I am going to take one out. And can you see that center score line? It may be hard for you to see. Just know that my score line is right here, and this is the front of my card. Now, I also made myself a template, which I should have done in a different color. I didn't realize that till this moment. Now, this template's simple to make. I'm just going to run over it real quick, but I'm going to link for you the video where I use this for the first time in the description. So this is a 3 by 3 square of cardstock that I have come on one corner and measured to 5/8 and made a mark, and measured to 5/8 and made a mark. Super easy. This corner will line up with the top corner of our card, just like so, and then we will do some tracing. So we're going to trace from our 5/8 mark down. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to try to do this keeping my hand out of the way, so it may not be the neatest job I've ever done. It's not. Look how messy. And then I'm going to come right down here, and I'm going to trace from the edge to my 5/8 mark. Okay? Let me make that a little wider so you can see that on camera. Now here's the thing. This is all I need to cut from here to here. I don't need to cut this edge and I don't need to cut this edge. So for me, especially when making multiple cards like this, it is really awesome to have these templates because it makes life so easy. Instead of me putting this into my trimmer and measuring here and measuring there, all I have to do is make my little trace marks just like so. And then I can come back and cut that in a few minutes. So I'm going to trace all of them real quick and then we'll start cutting. Now I'm going to show you how to cut this. You have a couple of options. You can totally do this with your trimmer. If you need to use your trimmer, you'll just take your trimmer, put this into the cut line, place your blade on the slice, okay, and trace it. That's too much work for me. I'm going to use my cutting knife, or my craft knife. And I know not everybody loves the craft knife, but for me, this is just the way to go. It's so much easier for me. And I normally don't like to use the metal edge side of my ruler, although that's what it was created for. The reason I don't is sometimes it's a little bulky for me to get exactly where I want to be. It's kind of hard to see it. But with a brand new blade, and I'm using a brand new knife here, with my brand new knife, sometimes I can cut into my ruler if I'm not careful. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to slice like so, okay? And then I'm going to slice on the other side. Remember my tip where I told you a really good thing to do is to make yourself a stop. So just take your blade and stick it into the end, make a little cut at the end, and then come to that cut. And remember, more passes, less pressure. By making that little cut, it gives me a stopping point, and this is what I'm wanting to get out of this, okay? Because this is gonna fold. I'll go ahead and show you. What's gonna happen here is this folds out like so, and you wanna fold it nice and straight. And what I try to do is watch the score line and this fold line and get them good and straight. And then I end up with this. Isn't that cool? So you can fold it forward. You probably could fold it backwards if you wanted to and get a different look. You get that kind of look, but I like it forward, and this is the look I'm going for. So when my card is closed, I'll have this section to decorate here, and I'll be able to put some pretty cardstock underneath and things like that. So this is how it's a little bit different than before, because before I did this part with pattern paper, whereas this time I'm doing it with the solid. I'm gonna go ahead and crease this one down. I'm not gonna do this to the rest of them. This slows me down. I do everything in assembly line, but I wanted you to see this. So I just wanted a different look, and I think this is a great way to get the look of a very time-consuming card without being very time-consuming. All right, so there's one. I'm gonna go ahead and cut them all and fold them all and crease them all, and we'll get right back together. So now I have my 12 card bases ready to be decorated, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with one and get the measurements that I need. I want to put a piece that'll go behind here and put a little pattern in this area, so I need to measure that. I know the width is gonna be 4 1/4, I mean no, 4, because that's what I normally put in, would be 4 inches wide, but I gotta do this odd angle. So I'm gonna see if I can make this easy on myself and figure that out for me and for you guys. Okay, so to make our little angle cut, I went through the paper pack and picked out 2 pieces that I wanted to be the fronts for these cards. I'm gonna use both sides, just alternating, so it's just 2 pieces of cardstock. Then you're gonna cut them down to 4 by 5 1/4. This is just like if we were gonna mat the whole front of the card. I'll show you, this is the card we're using, but if I were to flip it over, you'll see this would be just the mat size for the whole front. But we need to make a little fancy cut to go in here. So here's what we need to do. So I'm gonna start with one piece, and I need to do a little bit of measuring. As a matter of fact, I can do it with my cutting mat. So I'm gonna lay this down like so in the little squares of my cutting mat, and I need to measure in 1/4 here, and I need to measure up 1.5 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, you can measure that any way you need to, but that's your measurement. 1/4 inch in here and 1.5 inches up here, and make yourself a mark. Then take your trimmer and you're gonna angle cut this. So from your 1/4 inch mark here to your 1.5 inch mark at the bottom. And when I'm doing these kind of cuts, I like to sink my blade in the middle and then go up and down, or vice versa. You get a much cleaner cut that way. Don't stress about this guy, because we're totally gonna use this in card making. Remember, we did some of those a while ago. It'll still work. Then this is what you're left with. Let me show you how this works. Then this piece slides inside, just like that. And you can work it around just a little bit to get it where you need it to be. You'll glue that in, that'll be your front mat, and you even get to see a peekaboo of that second pattern on the inside, which I think is really cool because this card is pretty geometric. Like, I think that's neat. So that's how I'm gonna do my card front, so I need to cut all of these. So let's do one more together. All right, so we're going to take our bases, and I'll do it with a ruler this time in case you were confused. And I'm gonna come right here, and I'm gonna mark at 1/4 inch in. And you don't have to be right at 1/4 inch. It could be a scant or a little bit shy of 1/4 inch on that side. That'll work, but it's pretty much 1/4 inch. And then I'm gonna measure 1.5 inches up and give myself a mark. And of course, I would do these assembly line style. I would not do them like this one at a time. I would do all my cutting, all my marking, all my slicing, all my gluing. All right, so then I'm gonna put my little marks in here. So my 1/4 inch is on the top of the blade cut, and then my 1/2 inches down here, sink my blade and slice, save this for another card. We'll do something with that in a little bit. And this is the piece that can now go in to my card. You will need to do some thinking on this one. Let me tell you why. The cut matters, okay? The side you want to be up has to be cut at the right angle. So I have done 2 of these with this polka dot now, okay? So I think I'm gonna do 2 with the other side of this one. So I'm just gonna, like, as I do them to keep myself straight, I'm gonna put them in like this and set those aside. I won't mess with those right now. And then I can take that same paper, and I'm gonna do 2 at a time this time, by the way. And instead of cutting with the polka dot up, I'm gonna do it with the stripe up. So I'll do this one to show you what I mean too. I don't want you to get confused. So we're gonna lay this down. We're gonna measure in 1/4 inch, about like that. And then from the bottom, I'm gonna measure 1/2 inch up, about like this. And then I'm gonna slice. And if your trimmer will do more than 2, mine probably will, but I'm just gonna do 2 for now. Take your trimmer and you can do 2 at a time this way. Just line them up, get your little dots lined up in the cut line, sink and slice. Hold really firm, you don't want it to wiggle. So there's 2 pieces for other cards, and now I can have the stripes showing. I think that makes sense. You just want to make sure your angle is right for the side you want facing up. So these guys will go in here. So now I have some stripes. Isn't that cute? And then I'll keep going with my pattern paper. But remember, I'm only using 2 of the sheets from the 12 by 12 to get this look. So let me keep going. I got all my angle pieces cut when I realized something, and this is a pretty happy accident. Honestly, you're probably like, we already saw that, Maymay. You should have seen it too. This little guy is gonna fit here when I make one little adjustment. I just need to cut 1/4 inch off, and I think he'll be just right. And you'll be able to match your patterns up because they're the opposite side of the paper that you use, so they should be coordinating, or at least pretty similar. So here's what I'm gonna do. Put this guy down into my trimmer, and I'm gonna cut 1/4 inch off, and I'm not lining it up at the top up here. There's no need because the point won't really stop anywhere. I'm just laying this over into the grid. And I'm gonna do the same thing I always do. Sink my blade, go one direction and then the other. And look, save that for your scraps. Who knows what we can do with that little piece. And this guy should now, of course, this is not the pattern I would put it with. Let me see, neither of these patterns would work with this one, but look, now we have that piece that we can map right there perfectly. Cool beans, how about that for a happy accident? Okay, I'm gonna cut all those down. So now it's time to do some gluing. So I'm gonna close this guy down, and I'm gonna put my glue on this piece of the cardstock and not on my little piece back here, because I don't wanna glue this shut. So what I'm gonna do is run my glue up this edge like so, and then around it, and then just stay right in this area. You'll see when I get it all on here where I kind of stay. I can go up here a little more. And then I'm gonna start with this piece here, and I'm gonna place it down. And what I wanna do is make sure I get it in that little point and just slide it around until it's where it needs to go, or until my glue locks into place. And there's that. Now, this piece of paper, the back side is this. So I'm gonna let that be my guide, and I'm gonna come right here and put this piece down just like this. I think it is cute. I like the patterns, and don't worry, I'm adding another piece right here in just a second. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this one down. This one I can glue directly to the little piece because it won't glue anything down that I don't want down. So place this guy here, and I'm gonna line it up about even with that, not exactly even with that edge, but pretty close. I probably would pay more attention to this. I like this separation between the two. I think that looks really good. Okay, so I'm gonna do that to all the cards, and then we'll come back and work on this section. So this is how the card is so far, and now it's time to play with stickers, because I wanna do a focal point with stickers, and I gotta show you something. This is a happy accident. So this is my sticker sheet. This guy right here fits absolutely perfect on the square. I think he's the only one that's gonna do it, but I'm gonna line him up exactly on the square and then stick that down. What a happy accident is that? Look how pretty that is. It's gorgeous. And when I put paper behind here too, which I don't know what I'm doing yet back there, may not put any back there, I don't know, but isn't that beautiful the way that lines up? That's what I'm gonna do with all of them. Okay, so I have a little scrap here, and I have the sticker, Joy to the World, and what I'm gonna do is up here in this corner, I'm gonna stick it down about 1/8 inch away from the edge, top and bottom. Then I'm gonna use my We Are Memory Keeper layer guides, and I'm going to cut that other 1/8 of an inch on the other sides. So there we go. There's one side. Now let's do the other. Perfect. All right. I got a little crooked down here. I'm going to straighten that up because that's going to bother my eye. I don't know how I did that, but I sure did. There we go. Okay. Now this guy is ready to mount here, and look how pretty it's going to be. I'm glad I decided to do this. I don't know that it's even using more paper. I thought it would use more paper to do it, but I don't think this is using more. So I'm going to get some Scotty because I want to pop this up on a little dimension. So I got a piece of Scotty here. I'll put this down like so. Stick this guy in the middle. Something like that. Look how pretty that is. It'll be even prettier when I do something there to give it another bit of pattern. Isn't that cool? Okay, I'm gonna do this on every card. So if they fit perfectly, I'm gonna do that. If they don't, I'm gonna do them like this, and I'll just let you guys watch me do that. So I was able to use stickers almost for all of my cards. I had 3 cards that I needed to do something else with. So what I did was I cut myself a piece of cardstock, 2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and I'm using the stamp still from Holly and Heel, same set. I'm using the one that says Happy Holidays, and I'm just making myself some little sentiment pieces to go right in the spot on the card. So treating them just like I did everything else, I'm going to pop them up on some foam and then put them right into the center of the cards. It's cute. I like it like that. All right, I'm going to do the rest of them with these, and that'll be the outside of our cards pretty much done. So I've got everything done but the inside, and I have tossed this around and tossed this around how I want to do this. And I decided, you remember those 2 pieces of paper that I held out to do other projects with earlier? I don't really know that I would actually do these projects. I really like the idea of holding this for a scrapbook page, but that's not really who I am. So I'm definitely going to use this side of the page, no problem. This one I was thinking about doing for an advent calendar, but I get lots of these in my Christmas paper, so I can sacrifice this and use another one from another paper pack. So I'm also going to use this one. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make the pieces for the inside of those cards, because what I think makes these cards work so well is that pattern in here as well. Just the patterniness of this. Patterniness? I don't know how to explain it. I just think that the more patterns on this style card, the better it looks. So I'm using it. I will be happier if I do that rather than setting those pages aside and then maybe or maybe not getting to them. So I'm going to use these 2 pages, and I need 12 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. And these 2 pieces will get me that. So I'm going to cut my little strip off here. And I've been saving those. We'll probably get to those. We might use them. I have a plan to try to anyway. These polka dots are not making you dizzy at all, are they, with that grid in the background? Let's turn it to a different page. There we go. This one won't make you as dizzy. All right, so 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut this down to 4. Again, if you're a person who would use this page, you could use anything else to do what I'm doing today. You could use another page from the pack. I want to save as many pages as I can, and I just thought chances of me actually using these 2 pieces for that are slim, but using them on these cards is pretty real. So now I just need to cut these down to 5 1/4. So I also want some pieces for the sentiment inside of these cards, and I'm going to cut them down 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. And I'll show you why I'm going to do that. You may decide to do yours a little different, but this is the size I really want for the sentiment. All right, so 2 1/2 by 3 1/2, and I need 12 of these. For these inside sentiments, because this is a smaller piece, and this is really the only place I'm going to be able to write inside the card, I'm not going to do such a big sentiment. I'm going to use a small one that says Merry Christmas. This is from our stamp set from last year that's called Insta Wreath. This is the one I'm going to use on the inside of my cards. That way I have room to write underneath it. And you could totally put this in your stamp positioner, but when I have a little one like this, I just kind of run through and get these done. Let's try to get a little straighter than I was on that last one. Homemade cards can be crooked, by the way. All right, so I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas 12 times, and then we'll be ready to finish assembling those cards. So now for the assembly part. I'm going to open my card up, and I'm going to use, depending on the front of the card, like I like this black and white with this. See how cute this is? It's the calico-ness of the paper, and I think it's worth it to use these pieces I wasn't going to use to get this look on these cards. So I'm going to run my glue around like so. And this piece is just a mat on the inside. So you just treat it like you would on the front of the card. You just mat the inside with that piece. Trying to get that straight. And then we made these little pieces this size in particular because I want to hide it behind that piece there. You don't have to hide it. You could cut your piece bigger and let it be another mat right here. It would look good. I just like for mine to hide behind. I think it's kind of a neat little surprise. So I'm going to glue this down. And I'm going to put all of these together the same way. Just like this. Okay. Then what I think I'm going to do is lay this here just like so. And press it down in the middle, and then bring this side over to pick it up. So then I know I have it in the right spot. See how it's hidden there, and then it opens and I can write inside of there. I love these mixed pattern cards. I will probably come back. I have a little plan for right here. I've got some bling and stuff that I want to use, and I'm gonna come back and think about it, but I'm not gonna close that just yet. I'm gonna leave that like that for now and just run through and get all of these guys assembled. So here we go. These are the 12 cards we did today. I think they are so cute. Now this is, like I said, I'm using more paper on one set of cards than I normally do, but even at this point, I already have 24 cards made. How adorable are these? I love the mix of them. And I will go back and add some embellishments at the end. I always kind of do that. Come back with some bling or some glitter or some ribbon or baker's twine. I'll do that at the end. But check it out. They all have their little Merry Christmas in them. They all have their little bit of kind of peekaboo over there, and I think they're really, really cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this different look this year. It's just a little something different than So Simple. And remember, we have 24 others from our last video. I'll show you those. So now we have all of these cards as well. If you've not seen the first set of cards, be sure to go watch part 1. It'll be in the description below. Part 3 will be coming in my next video. We're going to do this consecutively until all of them are done. Next, we'll be working on these guys, the larger cut aparts we haven't done yet. We'll work on these, and then we'll get into dealing with the scraps. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.